And this is Master Teresa. So we'll do everything with love. So the Willows reading is something I've been, I guess, having the opportunity for myself for a number of years. And I'd like to introduce you to my good friend, Dave. And Dave also practiced Qigong. And Dave, what would you like them to know today?
What a responsibility you all hold out there in the world with all of this afterwash of this pandemic. I mean, I know most of you, if not all of you, are all instructors in one way, and you have people who come to you for support and for help to strengthen their chi and to do all of those kind of things. But at the same time, part of it is helping them find balance and restoring their own core in life right now, because a lot of people have found that it's just been flying away on them. They don't know what to do, you know? And I'm sure, I know I've certainly felt a little taken aback by the events of the last year or so, but at the same time, what's come out of it for me, and I'm sure with you folks as well, is a strength of if you still hold your chi strong, if you still hold your beliefs strong, and you keep yourself in a good balance, energetically, you automatically keep yourself in a good balance mentally, and you're not duped. You're not conned by information that comes from sources that may be, well, so we say, less than beneficial to your well-being. And so it goes with your students as well. So keep that in mind, that when people are coming to see you, that part of the responsibility is to give them a little bit of counseling about what you find personally, because I think that's the best way to express ourselves, through our own experiences, you know. And to talk maybe a story or two about something you've done to go inside to find yourself and to share and to make, you know, life a little fuller and to help you feel balanced or grounded in your own lives as well, because we all have stories, right? You know, that's all we are. We're just stories at the end of our lifetime. But if we can have stories like that coming out into the world, you'll be doing a lot of good to not only help your students learn to use Qi and Qigong, but also the heart behind Qigong, you know, and that's yours. You know, each one of you has your own perspective and your own view of the world, and that's the beautiful thing that drew you to Qigong in the first place. So now you have this great opportunity to deal with people in a positive, influencing way. You know, I'm not talking about brainwashing people. I'm talking about influencing them to help lift them and to help them feel more balanced, more centered, and more grounded.
Yeah.
So this just a little, you know, shout out for you guys to say thank you for the job and the work that you do out there. You know, thank you for studying the things that you do and stepping onto the path and giving it, you know, everything you've got to really do that, to uplift the vibrations on this planet. So, you know, just think about that the next time your clients come in, or somebody, you know, you're dealing with somebody online these days, mostly it seems. I know a few people will have small gatherings in a large space, but even that isn't permitted right now. So it really helps bring people together when you can do things like this, exactly as we're doing now. I always like to try and just talk from my heart and to share from my life, and you know, so that's kind of what else could I recommend for you guys? You know, not do what I do, but do what you want to do. You know, tell your stories and make the center of other people's growth, you know, as well. So that's kind of what I had to share tonight. I mean, I didn't want to get into it too much, but I think you kind of get the drift, so to speak.
We're just grateful. We're always just grateful and feel blessed to have the opportunity, and how this has come to my life, and how we have become friends, and how this continues to help other people that's coming along at this special time of the world. I think it is most interesting. As people speaking of fifth dimension, and then we are in third dimension, and then we are getting information from the higher information. It's all higher dimension. It's perfect then. So I'll remove myself to in the pin. So welcome you, Dave, whenever you would like to go on track.
Oh, whenever I want to fall asleep, sure, I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm just.
So thanks again, everybody, for being here tonight. I'm deeply grateful that you value some of the things I have to share, and I want to thank you. Yes, this is in effect with the agreement of the entity David, and we welcome you here and your questions. You may now proceed as you wish.
Oh, thank you. What's going on with the weather changing?
Well, it's all part of the weather shift on all of the planets. The Earth is heating up to a small degree because of a large energy wave that's coming through this part of your galaxy that's coming from another galaxy far, far away, as some of your movie people would say. But here, this is heating up all the planets. It is also heating up the sun as well. What this does on the Earth, however, is it begins to affect the melting of the ice pole, the north and south poles, the ice caps, as you would call it. And as this happens, tremendous amounts of changes shift in the construction of the planet itself. It's still cold at both ends, but not as cold as it was. And when these melting downs are happening, huge glaciers are breaking apart and causing difficulty all around the world, not just on the poles, but also on the tops of mountains as well, in certain areas, in the Himalayas, for example. And here, as you would have it, you have of this great cold shift in air. And right now, as you would see your planet and the planet itself on a tilt, the planet is also tilting somewhat, a little bit more at this time. And what is happening is the magnetic north is moving more and more into Siberia, you see? What this really means is that the prevailing winds on the planet are shifting, and they are bringing down huge amounts of cold from the Arctic area on the northern hemisphere, and bringing it right down almost to the equator, and then blowing it back up again and out onto the Atlantic Ocean, as you would have it. It's like a huge cold front is being pushed down with giant hands into this area. Texas here, down to the Gulf, in fact, is being affected by it. And it is quite exceptional. It is also exceptional in other areas throughout the North American continent. It is a temporary thing. It's not going to be a permanent on this way, but it is giving you an idea of what is to come, because after the heating of the globe, you see, which everybody is talking about global warming, they may be wishing to change their minds a little bit, and in the next 30 to 40 years, begin to look at global cooling, which is more what's happening right now, particularly with the gathering of cloud cover around the planet itself, which a lot of people have been wondering what those planes flying around up there are doing, which is laying a broader and deeper atmosphere, having more, shall we say, reflection of the sun from the Earth, thereby trying to cool the Earth, which they suspected was heating up. But in actual fact, in creating these cooling effects, it will bring on a much faster new, or, well, it won't be a full ice age. It would be what you might call a mini ice age. So this will be, again, coming in the next 3 to 4 decades. It will start to make itself more present in the on the planetary level. Although in certain areas, like right now, Texas, it's beginning to show how malleable, how flexible the temperatures are on this planet, how they can be moved around just by a slight movement in the actual surface of the Earth. There is a whole science behind this as well, understanding that the magma on the Earth and the Earth's spin are out of whack a little bit right now. So the planet is actually sliding right on top of its own magma. It has an iron core, then it has magma out there between there and the surface of the Earth. And this magma causes the surface to move. That is why there are so many earthquakes at this moment in time all around the continent, including large ones right in the middle of your own continent in Canada, you see? So all of these are interconnected, as everything is when it comes to geo and atmospheric interactions, you see? So this is what the reason for it is just to understand it from this larger perspective as well. It is nothing to be frightened of. It is just something you're living through right now. See? Well, the thing to keep in mind is the economy is all man-made. You see, all of it is man-made. It does not come from some other place. It's how you humans choose to have an interaction of goods and services for some type of payment in exchange. It's gone from a barter system, which is how you originally began in business at all, into exchanging literally pieces of plastic paper for the value of your time or your energy or your goods. In looking at this in this way, what is occurring at this moment in time is because of your pandemic, much has caused a huge, shall we say, ripple in the economy. Because it was not handled correctly by most countries' chief economists, their ministers of finance, so to speak, they and the choices that were made as to what to do to slow this pandemic down. And without proper planning, they had basically a good idea, but unfortunately, it never had a chance to be followed up because of the pettiness of many people involved about wearing masks or cooperating in any way to try and stop the movement of the disease. It should have already had the brakes put on, and it should have been in hand right now. But for those who got so involved in conspiracy theories and fear mongering and controlling others through something that was a natural disaster, and instead of trying to help solve it, use it to shall we say, express and expand their own coffers and become wealthier because of it. This is the kind of psyche that unfortunately exists amongst many on your planet. So what you're looking at right now is a place where your country, for example, and the United States, let's use these two examples, have had to go and borrow money from international money places. It's not exactly like a pawn shop you go to get $1.9 trillion. This is the mega dollar range that people are talking about now. Soon it will pass, and it will go into quadrillions. But first of all, trillions at this time. No country exists without a debt. They all have debts. Most of them have debts and did have debts until the last 30 or 40 years ago in the billions of dollars. The United States was the first one to create a debt in the trillions of dollars. And Canada is well on their way, even with a much smaller economy, being of a social democratic economy, much is expected of the government. In other words, for the people to have a better lifestyle and to have a better life. When you look upon the actual economy itself, the stock market, all of these things here are all the result of an agreement between mega companies, the real countries, yes, on your planet, and to say we not only have products to sell, but we can sell little pieces of our company to those who wish to give us their money, the people who are already buying our products, and then they just give it back to us. And then we give them a little bit of that money back in the form of dividends, yet get to keep most of it in the form of stocks, you see. That is the stock market. That's how it works. There is no easier way to explain it. So automatically the people who already own many things, and it's not hard to find the national corporations. There have been a few that have been invented in the last few years, but most of them are the old ones, the tried and true ones, so to speak. And we don't need to name these because we're not out to promote them. But the fact is that this is the basis of your economy. And these people, these mega billionaires, are supported by those who are at the top of your pyramid, which is the bankers. Not the military people, but the bankers. Because without the bankers, without the money, no one can do anything. You can't support an army. You can't support an economy. You have to have some way of moving money around. And those who are in the banking industry, and these are international bankers, most of them out of London and Paris, you see, and these are the ones that control the world as you would really know it. So from this perspective here, these are the ones that the countries have gone to borrow the money from. They've already borrowed money from these people over the last how many hundreds of years. But they have, and they always owed money to these people. The banking, that's how the banking works. The banking can only make money on interest. It can't make money on just having money unless there's some value placed upon the moving of the money and the promissory notes that come back from taking the large amounts of money. Now, we don't want to give you your financial 101 here, but that's how it works in the big picture. Right now, the big picture is the United States and Canada need money to move ahead because they closed all the businesses down in the country. They basically created an unemployment issue that added 10 to 15% unemployment onto both of the economies. And these are all in sectors of the economy where people have lower incomes anyway. They have had to give these people money to live because otherwise everyone would have gone bankrupt because they couldn't pay their rent, thereby the landlords couldn't pay their money to the bank, and God forbid the bank shouldn't get their money. So the big banking concerns turn about and they lend the money to the country. The country gives it to the people, and they give the rest of that money they borrow from them back to them in interest payments already as a sign of good faith. So how much are they really borrowing and giving back at the same time? That's a good question. You don't see these kind of figures all laid out in the government plans, but they have to repay the people they borrow from. So the bankers are always in a good place. So truly, if you really want to invest, if you really want to make money, if you really want to get the money back, go put your money in the bank. Particularly Canadian banks are very highly regarded because they're all sanctioned by the government. So they're tied in, you see, just like bedmates, you see. And this way, the country can exist in more of a holistic way than many other countries. By the way, this is not a conspiracy. We're not telling you anything that doesn't exist. This has existed basically since the time of your civilizations began. Ever since somebody figured that they could trade a rock for a mule if they gave value to the rock. Oh, look, it's malleable. It's this kind of yellow color. We'll call it gold. And that's how it began. So if you think about this, you create a demand or a need for that which you have, which is money, and you make sure that others want to use that money to move ahead. When you look, for example, in the country of Canada, and you ask, how many people in Canada actually own their own homes? What percentage of the population? Well, there's a very high percentage of the population who are paying for their homes. But when you ask, where did they get their money from? They all got their money from a bank or some type of an institution of credit. They don't own their homes. They live in them and they pay a monthly stipend, a certain amount of money off the top, and the rest in interest. That's where money can be made right now as well, in real estate. Not by flipping things and trying to sell it for a higher price, but by creating new areas of residence for people to rent. And that's where the money is. Many people will renovate a house and then rent it out to 2 or 3 floors. And they'll triple their money very quickly. So it's things like this. That's where you're going to make your money. As far as putting your money into AT&T and IBM and all the rest of them, yes, you'll always make a little bit of money back and forth. But that's kind of like wiping the perspiration off a boxer's forehead. You see, they give you a little bit, just enough to keep you happy, shall we say. And they keep the rest always. So again, this is to let you see that bigger picture. If you like playing in that environment, and you like feeling that you can then get into chance investments and those kind of things, where you look and see, for example, you would see be refer of something that would come along that looks like a good idea, something in the electronic information arena. So you provide some seed money for that, and then it develops, and then you allow that seed money to be turned into stocks, and the next thing you know, you're a multimillionaire. It happens. It's the society you live in. Those are venture capitalists. Those are the people who are willing to take a risk. So unless you're really willing to take a risk in your society today, just be prepared to just take your dividends on a regular basis, the same as everybody else does all around the world, from the major stockholding companies. So that's the essence of that. Is it going to be a collapse of the economy? No, because the banks who run it all are not going to go out of business, and they're not going to let you hit the dirt, because they can't. Because without you, they can't exist either. You see? So this is the idea behind the whole process, this cycle of life when it comes to your economy. It may be a bit simplistic, as we say, but it is simplistic on the biggest level. It just becomes more complicated as you get closer and closer onto the shall we say, the battlegrounds of the economy in which you all live on a day-to-day basis. See? Is this helpful?
Thank you.
Well, it is evolving already, and people are becoming more and more drawn to it. Energy medicine, the use of the conscious mind in other areas, raising of consciousness, raising of energy, all of these things are extremely important in your society right now, because there's a huge shift in consciousness that is afoot at this time in your history. Many call it the age of Aquarius, if you wish, which started in the 1970s. And you're just stepping into it right now. And you're seeing the end of it at this moment in time, with all of this negativity in the economy, all of this negativity in politics, all of this partisan policies that are about, and people fighting each other a lot. It's the last of the old energy. It's raising its head like a dinosaur, and then it's going to hit the ground and not get up again. Because what is coming in right now is a very powerful movement that's going to be uplifted and drawn forward by these very things, by this energy work, by this understanding of psychological healing, by physical healing through Qigong, and associated healing techniques. In creating and building up of mental acuity, so people can think better and act better, be more creative in a scientific way, and combining science and energy work together, making the world really a whole again. So this is the age that's coming in, and you, all of you out there, are like warriors of the fifth dimension. You see, you are truly. And warriors, true warriors, are not people to go riding down on their horses, swinging their axes and their clubs. Real warriors are those who stand by, uplift, and stand shoulder to shoulder, and help the whole world move forward. Who begin to look upon the human condition as something to be revered and protected and loved and nourished. Those are the true warriors of the fifth dimension, or the fifth level, or the fifth kingdom, as many would call it. So think about that. You are already here. You are the ones who are carrying the torch and moving it forward, lifting it, so to speak, to help others see life in a more clear and a more positive way. As the entity David did say at the beginning of the night here, is that this is your time. You have already chosen to be leaders in energy work. And it's not just what you learn from one or more teachers. It is how you apply it. It is what you do with it. It is how you bring it forth. And you have a very positive view, we know, because the philosophy behind this particular school is one of personal growth, not just traditional ways of doing things, like you're winding a little gizmo up that just completely does the same thing every time. You see, it does not work that way. As you've learned, you are teaching people how to apply Qigong to their day-to-day lives, to make themselves more profound and prolific in all that they see and do. These are the things that are important. And in doing it this way, you are again helping lift the consciousness of the world. And make no doubt about it that this is the time. And the next 10 to 20 years is when all of this is going to really and truly burst through. Not to fight, not to be in objectives with others, but to be in a state of opening doors, of reaching out, of connecting with other philosophies on the planet, including science, including medicine, including all of these areas where you can bring holistic and what you might call realistic, which is what they'd like to call it, yes, ideals together. Because nothing on the planet can exist without imagination. Nothing. It takes imagination to see anything. A cloud is just a cloud until one day you look at it and in it you see a horse. You see? It is just a cloud until imagination takes over. Life is just an existence until imagination imprints its vision and its dream upon that canvas of existence. That's what you have, each one of you. And you are here to help uplift that and bring it into the world with others who have come onto this plane to realize themselves, just as you have, which is the beautiful thing about teaching, you see. The more you learn, the more you have to teach other people. And how do you learn new things? You try new things. You take an experimental attitude. You dive right into the pool and splash around and find out the water wasn't so cold to begin with. See? So it is that way that these things are brought out in this way of seeing a new world come in. So will it happen? As we say, it is happening. And you, as we say, are the forerunners of a new kingdom. If you choose, of course. If you so choose. See? To understand fully the nature of the human condition, you have to live as a human being. And not just in one life, but in many lives. As in two major sexes and a variety of other shades of each of those sexes, from homosexuality to we say hermit-like existence, and everything in between. Right in the middle is, of course, what you would consider to be normal. But in actual fact, the reincarnation expression is different in each lifetime. Each time you are born, you bring an eternal energy spirit within you that is you. Yet it is given the opportunity to develop as a separate personality, a persona, as it were. So who you think you are is only who you believe you may be. And as you get older and you begin to discover other powers you hold, it's almost like some kind of a Marvel comic book, isn't it? You're like a hero from a comic book. Suddenly you begin to discover these other powers within yourself, the powers of insight, the powers of chi, be able to warm things up or heal, and begin to have an understanding of the nature of the very power of the universe you live within. All of these things are the direct result of reincarnation. And the interesting thing about all of this is that reincarnation, in actual fact, as you would call it, is not a punishment. It's not. It is the way you were given to have a lifetime. How could you ever have a lifetime or an understanding of somebody else's life in this life you live today if you did not have a feeling of empathy. And that empathy, in actual fact, has perhaps come from a source deep inside of you. And that source is from your higher self, which trickles through into your unconscious mind. And that higher self has had that very experience that the person that you're feeling empathetic for is having. You feel it within yourself. You see the humanity and the humaneness in all that is around you. And many of you are beginning to find that in your life now. Most people, when they come onto this plane, are in a state of unconsciousness. They're unconscious and they don't even know they're unconscious. See? And many people go through whole lifetimes like that, because what they need to get together is the physical existence. See? What it's like to just have this physical existence without any, shall we say, complications of spirituality. And these are the people who will be joining in large groups together to go to a church or a synagogue or a temple, in which they don't have to do the thinking, they don't have to do the intellectualizing, because everything's laid out for them. And they're given a good, strong spiritual base, which ensures that they don't go around killing each other all the time, you see? And that is the essence of that base of energy, that base of consciousness. The next layer is one that is a little more. It's a more of a creative thing, where people feel that they have to get out and create in the world, build businesses or build homes or build something, build families. It doesn't matter, you see. And then another level of consciousness that comes in another lifetime is to get to a state where you're not only building businesses, but you are financially secure and you are dealing with peers around you all the time, and trying to have some form of status with them, where you would feel important and where you would feel full and energized. And then the next one above that, and the next one above that, until finally you reach one in which you are simply looking to basically organize all of them, and coming in as an individual, yet at the same time having all of these lifetime of experience behind you and within you. And then you don't need to come back to this physical existence on this planet. The soul is eternal. It is always in a state of evolution. That's why when you look at things, you know things it was impossible for you to know, but you do, and you're always right. That's why when you have and see a set of circumstances, and you just find yourself crying, there's tears on your face, and you realize that you have been touched deeply by something that would normally not have even been something you thought about. Because that part of you is evolving from the past and has touched you in this moment, in this lifetime. These are the essences of being alive, of having the reincarnational experience happen. And most people lead a life in which they're seeing things and saying, well, poor me. Why did this have to happen to me? What did I do? I hate God. I hate you. I blame this. I blame that. Those are lifetimes you have to go through too, to realize there are no victims. There are no oppressors. There is nothing but your existence in all of it, and how you choose to filter the information, and how you choose to use it, and see how that information is important in how your life is evolving right now. And once you get it, once you get to that point, and many of you are already there, you begin to share it with other people so that they too may be uplifted, because evolution is not a cyclical thing. It's a spiral thing. It evolves around and out. So every time you go through another life, every time you have another experience, you put another coil in your spring. You see, almost like a DNA model, like that. You see, with that twirling coming up. But it's the same kind of thing. That is how your physical and your eternal consciousness interact on the physical plane, just like that. That's why you have your DNA, because in the DNA is your history, the history of your species, the history of your creation, the history of your actual evolution into physicality. Not just yours, but that which you are occupying with a conscious understanding in that lifetime. having all the features of not only the body, but also the interactions of the culture within which you've been immersed. So that's reincarnation. That's what it's about. It's about continually growing. And in that case here, as you might see, reincarnation truly brings an offer and an opportunity to rise above it all. Because here's the biggest trick of all. You live every lifetime right now. Right now. Every single lifetime you've ever lived is right now. Because when you really think about it, not just philosophical, it's not a trick of the mind. There can only be now. Anything else is a memory. Anything else is a projection. So if you live in the past, it's a memory. If you live in the future, it's a projection. And when are you doing it from? Right now. Right now. So that's where your consciousness is locked. So all consciousness that you've ever held in any physical existence is held in that singular moment. If you meditate, if you sit down, if you think about this and you get into this process and you let go of it as a concept and just let it wash over you, suddenly you'll have a much broader perspective of your totality, of where you fit in the infinite source of being. And isn't that what you came here to find out? Because if you're already out there and you're not in the physical, how are you going to express it? How are you going to find out what it's like to be in the physical? That's why soul, that's why energy comes into the physical body in the first place, to have a physical experience, to make decisions, to have an emotional experience, a true emotional experience based on physical existence. See? So consciousness is in and out of the physical. Reincarnation is coming into the physical, going through a cycle from beginning to end, leaving and then coming back and doing it again. But not always on the same planet, not always in the same sex, not always in the same race, not always in the same anything. It's always changing. And as it changes, you have the opportunity to have this vast array of experiences that give you the depth of a true soul, of an eternal soul. One in which you understand the vagaries of all aspects of conscious living, and yet still hold within yourself an eternal mind that's constantly in a state of evolving. See? It's not as simple as it sounds, and it doesn't sound that simple as we explain it. But the truth is, that is how it works. And don't forget, you asked, so we're giving you the best way that we can express it to you. So when you see that in this way, you see the nature of that, you truly have an opportunity to expand and broaden your own perspective as a unique entity that's part of an eternal cycle. And here you are. And that is the most important thing to give thought to. And as we always like to say, reincarnation is making a comeback, you see. That's our reincarnation joke. We're not very funny sometimes. But here, in this truth, it is the truth for you to note that reincarnation brings you the opportunity for constant evolution. See? So bring it into yourselves. Love being here. Take each moment as it is. Enjoy the depths. Enjoy the warmth. Enjoy the love. Enjoy all of the things that you are here to express. And sometimes the pain that you feel, the injustice that you experience, all of these things shape you as well. And they can either shape you or break you. And there's many strong people here tonight. You've almost been broken, but here you are. You came back for more because you knew there was more. There was more than just what happened to you. You can continue to grow. See? That's where strength comes in. That's how you push yourself forward in the evolution of your own consciousness. And the good thing to note about any reincarnational existence is when you reach a reincarnational existence, that gives you a sense of a broader perspective, which is why we're sharing this with you in this particular way. We don't explain things like that to everybody in this way. We explain it in this way for those who are ready to hear it. Because the moment you begin to take and say, this makes sense, then you can also begin to understand when you begin to have great comprehension, when you begin to have good insights, yes? And you begin to raise your consciousness in this lifetime, You do it in every single physical existence on this plane that you've ever been in. So you're fortunate to be in a lifetime where you can actually understand that and know that you change your whole narrative in this one lifetime, or any lifetime in which you have this degree of understanding, this degree of being able to look from the outside in and to live from the inside out, all at the same time. So think about it, and think about how you're here to live and thrive and survive. And for those of you who like to think, well, isn't this samsara, the sea of suffering? It depends on how you choose to suffer, or if you choose to suffer in the way that classic suffering is listed. And in actual fact, if you didn't suffer at some point in your life, how could you ever grow? How could you ever learn? How could you ever develop true love for yourself and for others? See?
Thank you.